ask me if I give a fuck about man. Recently I just don't give a fuck about a thing. Ask me if I give a fuck about it this. Ask me if I give a fuck.
Welcome, criminal files, to another episode of Homicide Cases. I'm your host, Misfit, and today we will be opening the file on Rodney Alcala, better known as the dating game killer. Rodney James Alcala was born as Rodrigo Jock Alcala, also known as John Berger. He was born in San Antonio, Texas on August 23, 1943, to Ana Maria Gutierrez and Raul Alcala Bucor. He was an American serial killer convicted of 8 homicides, 5 in California, 2 in New York, and 1 in Wyoming. Rodney had 2 sisters, Christine and Marie, and a brother, though his brother's name is not known. In 1951, his father moved the family to Mexico, where they would live for 3 years until his father abandoned his family. In 1954, his mother moved with him and his 2 sisters to suburban Los Angeles when Rodney was 11 years old. In 1961, at the age of 17, Rodney joined the United States Army to become a paratrooper, but ended up serving as a clerk. While in the Army, his commanding officer stated that Rodney had manipulative, vindictive, and insubordinate behavior. In 1961, he went AWOL from his post at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and hitchhiked to his mother's house in California. It was later revealed that he had a nervous breakdown and was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. Later that year, the Army gave him a medical discharge. In 1968, he approached Morgan Rowan at a teen nightclub on the Sunset Strip. He drove Rowan to his apartment where he beat her and SA'd her. She was later rescued by her friends. On September 25, 1968, Alcala lured 8-year-old Tali Shapiro into his apartment where he beat and SA'd her. She was found alive but in critical condition. She would end up surviving the attack. On June 12, 1971, Cornelia Crilly was found in her apartment. She was SA'd and strangled with her own pantyhose. Alcala would later be indicted for her homicide and would plead guilty. Alcala was placed on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list. During this time, Alcala worked at an arts camp in New Hampshire where he would be arrested in connection with the Shapiro case in California. Alcala was convicted of child molestation. In 1974, Alcala was paroled after serving 2 years and 10 months in jail. In June 1977, Christine Ruth Thornton was last seen hitchhiking in Biloxi, Mississippi after breaking up with her lover. On July 15, 1977, Ellen Jane Hover was last seen at her apartment in New York. She had an entry in her date book indicating a meeting with John Berger, now believed to be Alcala. On October 9, 1977, Pamela Jean Lamson disappeared after making a trip to Fisherman's Wharf. She was found passed away near a hiking trail in Marin County. Also in 1977, Jill Barcombe and Georgia Wickshead were found passed away. Alcala was released earlier in the year as a registered sex offender after being convicted of assaulting a 13-year-old girl. That same year, Alcala worked at the Los Angeles Times as a typesetter and was interviewed by the Hillside Strangler Task Force. He was also arrested for marijuana possession. The FBI received a tip about Alcala's 1971 arrest in New Hampshire relating to the Shapiro case in California. When investigators asked Alcala about Ellen Hover, he admitted to knowing her. He could not be arrested at the time because Hover's body has not yet been found. In 1978, Alcala appeared on The Dating Game and won. However, the woman, Cheryl Bradshaw, declined to go on a date with him because he seemed creepy. Later that year, Hover's body was found buried under heavy rocks on a hillside overlooking the Hudson River. Charlotte Lamb was found passed away also in 1978. In 1979, investigators found jewelry from Robin Samsoe and another victim in a Seattle area storage locker rented by Alcala. Armed with this evidence, police arrested Alcala for Samsoe's homicide and he was held without bail. Later that year, the body of Jill Parenteau was found. Lane Leadham was photographed by Alcala, who claimed to be a professional photographer and shared a portfolio of nude teenage boys. In May of 1980, Alcala was convicted of Samsoe's homicide and sentenced to death a month later. In 1982, Christine Thornton's body was found near Granger, Wyoming. In 1984, Alcala's homicide conviction was overturned by the California Supreme Court due to improperly informed jurors. In May 1986, Alcala was again convicted of Samsoe's homicide and was given the death penalty in August of that year. In 1992, the California Supreme Court upheld Alcala's conviction, but he filed a federal petition of habeas corpus. In 2001, a United States District Court judge granted Alcala's petition, overturning his second conviction. In 2003, Orange County investigators discovered that Alcala's DNA matched semen left at 2 Los Angeles homicide scenes, leading to indictments for 2 additional homicides. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the decision to overturn Alcala's second homicide conviction. Later that year, prosecutors entered a motion to join the Samsoe charges with the 4 newly discovered victims. Alcala's attorneys contested, but the motion was granted. In 2004, Alcala was linked to more homicides through DNA. In 2006, the California Supreme Court upheld prosecutors' petition to join Samsoe's charges with the 4 newly discovered victims. In February 2010, Alcala stood trial for 5 homicides and was convicted on all 5, receiving the death penalty for the 3rd time. That same year, the Huntington Beach and New York City Police Department released Alcala's photos to seek the public's help in identifying potential victims. New York authorities also announced that they would no longer pursue Alcala because of his status as a convict awaiting execution. Thornton is the first victim identified through these released Alcala photos. Alcala was also named as a person of interest in several unsolved homicides in Washington state. In January 2011, the homicide of Cornelia Crilly was solved, and Alcala was indicted for the 1971 homicide of Crilly and of the 1977 homicide of Ellen Hover. In March of 1977, investigators in Marin County, California, announced that they were confident that Alcala was responsible for the homicide of Pamela Lamson. In June 2012, Alcala was extradited to New York, where he initially pled not guilty to the homicides of Crilly and Hover. In December of that year, Alcala changed his plea to guilty, citing a desire to return to California to pursue his appeals of his death penalty convictions. On January 7, 2013, Alcala was given a 25 years to life sentence in New York for the Crillian Hoover homicides. A few months later, Ruth Thornton was recognized in the released Alcala photos. In 2015, the body found in 1982 was identified as Christine Thornton when DNA supplied by her relatives matched tissue samples from her remains. In 2016, Alcala was charged with Thornton's homicide. Age 23, she was a flight attendant for TWA. She was found SA'd, bitten, and strangled in her Manhattan, New York apartment. Alcala pled guilty to her homicide in 2012. Age 23, an aspiring musician who disappeared from her Manhattan, New York apartment in 1977. Her remains were discovered in Westchester County later that year. Alcala pled guilty to her homicide in 2012. Age 18, found SA'd, bludgeoned, and strangled in the Hollywood Hills in 1977. Age 27, a nurse who was SA'd, tortured, and strangled in her Malibu apartment in 1977. Age 32, found SA'd and strangled with a shoelace in an El Segundo apartment complex's laundry room in 1978. Age 21, found deceased in her Burbank apartment. Age 12, abducted while riding her bicycle to ballet class in Huntington Beach in 1979. She was Alcala's final known victim. Age 28, was 6 months pregnant when she disappeared in Wyoming in 1978. Her remains were found in 1982 and DNA linked Alcala to her case. Prosecutors ultimately did not extradite Alcala to stand trial due to his poor health. In 1968, 8-year-old Shapiro was brutally beaten and essayed by Alcala, who was later convicted of the attack. She survived and testified against him as an adult. In 1968, 16-year-old Rowan was attacked and essayed by Alcala, but survived. In California, Alcala was convicted of 5 first-degree homicides and received the death penalty. In New York, he pled guilty to 2 counts of homicide and received a 25 years to life sentence since New York did not have the death penalty. He was convicted of child molestation in the Shapiro case, but only served 34 months. He was also registered as a sex offender due to an assault on a 13-year-old girl. Alcala passed away on July 24, 2021 at the age of 77 from cardiac arrest. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this episode, give me a like and a subscribe so you'll be notified when new episodes come out. Join me next time when I'll be opening the file on Alex Franklin. This is Misfit signing off, and as always, stay safe.